firmly in a very distinctive era in the history of love. We are living in the era of Romanticism. Romanticism is an intellectual movement that began in the salons, studies, garrets of European poets, novelists, writers in the middle end of the 18th century. And nowadays, even if you've never heard of a single romantic poet or novelist from any garret in old Europe, and you're just having your love life here in Sydney, you are influenced, because we all are, by Romanticism. So whether you don't necessarily know about it or feel it or touch it, it is all around us in the ether. We are living, ladies and gentlemen, in the era of Romanticism. Now, what does Romanticism tell us about love? It has a very distinctive set of arguments about what love is like, what we should expect from love, and how relationships should go. And let me run you through a few of those romantic assumptions. I think the first and most central assumption is that for all of us out there, there is most definitely a soulmate. We may not have met them already. We may be swiping left, right, furiously in order to try and locate them. They exist, and eventually, if we keep going hard enough, we will find them. And when we find them, our soul will fuse with theirs. All areas that had previously been confused and lonely will be redeemed. We will no longer feel ourselves wordless, agonized, melancholic before the mysteries of existence. We have found a true friend, and loneliness will be banished. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the person waiting for us somewhere out there, the soulmate. Here's another thing that Romanticism talks to us about. It talks to us about the way in which, when you really love somebody, you love everything about them. Of course, you love the amazing things about them, but oddly and touchingly, you quite love the slightly imperfect things about them. And that's why in the early days of love, there's a lot of kind of tenderness and excitement around the discovery of the less than perfect sides of somebody that are used, that feed into love and that intensify love. Maybe your partner's got a slight gap between their two front teeth. Not a problem. I mean, a problem for an orthodontist, but for you, it's charming. It's charming. Maybe there's that old pair of pajamas that their mother gave them and they put it on a cold night and it's got bear prints on it. It doesn't look that glamorous, it wouldn't win any fashion awards, but it's them and it's theirs and it's incredibly sweet and you love them all the more for it. So in a way, in the early days of love, the fragilities and vulnerabilities of another person are part of what makes that person so lovable. Until, you're getting the hang of this now, until maybe about 3 months in, a version of the following scenario happens. So maybe you've been out for a big night, etc., and it's morning, it's dawn, and you're having some breakfast, and you're having some cereal. Maybe they picked out a kind of granola-ish, sort of quite nutty kind of cereal, and they're next to you, and they're eating their cereal, you're eating your, and you just turn to them, and you go, look, are you a cow or something? This just sounds disgusting. Just shut your mouth or something. And, you know, this person suddenly turns around and goes, hang on a minute, this is like the third thing that you're criticizing me for in 24 hours. Well, I thought you loved me. So there's that if criticism is here, love is here, they should never be together, and if they are ever together, it's a sign that love has failed. This, again, is a disastrous philosophy. The idea that another person could spend any time with us and not spot a whole lot of things that are problematic is really the height of sentimentality. Of course, are you perfect? If you're not perfect, how on earth do you expect someone not to notice the imperfections and not mind them? But nevertheless, Romanticism tells us that no, this has no place. Look, let's look away from that rather unhelpful philosophy to an earlier vision of love. This one developed by the ancient Greeks, which I think is a lot more helpful. The ancient Greeks, very focused on love, as we are, but had a very different vision of what love is. They felt that love is admiration for the perfect sides of another human being, for the virtues, the qualities, the accomplishments in the character and achievements of another person. There's other stuff, of course, there's flaws and things, and you may be generous towards them, and you may be forgiving of them, but you don't love them. The word love is reserved for an admiration for what is virtuous and accomplished in another person. And for the ancient Greeks, the whole notion of love is that love should be a process of mutual education, in which two people, under the auspices of love, undertake to educate one another to become better versions of themselves. And they do this not to be cruel, not as a way of bringing each other down, but because they have the sincerest, best interest of the other at their heart.